In this video, I'm going to talk about the simple system that I use to never forget ideas, events, and tasks. Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Dan. I'm a productivity geek based in Lisbon, and on this channel, we explore the strategies and tools that help us work smarter and be more productive. So if you're anything like me and you're always eager to learn more about productivity, please consider subscribing to the channel. And now let's go back to this video. With so many things coming into my day, either ideas that I had or events that I had to attend or tasks that I had to do, I was treating my brain as a hard drive. And then I found out that you really shouldn't trust your memory. It has been estimated that the average brain has anywhere between 25 and 50,000 thoughts a day. So while the brain is a wonderful thing and gives you all these ideas, it's not very good at remembering them. So the best thing that you can do for your brain is allowing it to have ideas, but then capture those ideas so you can remember them later. And that reminds me of a concept that I really like from Getting Things Done, which is your brain is for having ideas, not storing them. And so this brain creates this sort of open loops that if you don't capture them immediately, you're simply gonna forget them. So first, it's important to understand the three types of open loops. So open loops are things that your brain comes up with. And these take three forms, which are ideas, basically when you have a random thought of something new. Ideas are basically something you can use later, incorporate into your life or into your work. And sadly, they come when you least expect them to. Then there are events, things that are happening in the future at a certain date at a certain time. These are also called appointments, like having meetings, birthdays, or dinner plans. And finally, you have tasks, things that you need to get done. Calling a friend, doing some laundry, sending an email. So every day your brain is coming up with these three kinds of things. And when one of them comes up, what you want to do is immediately capture them. So getting your open loops out of your brain and into some sort of physical or digital device is the first step to externalization. And the way I think this is that we are very organized in our physical life. So for example, when I arrive at home, I put my shoes in my shoe rack. So that's basically the best place for me to store that thing. It wouldn't make a lot of sense if I enter my house, took off my shoes, and placed them in the bathroom. But when it comes to our thoughts, our open loops, that's mostly what we do. By not capturing everything immediately, we create sort of a chaotic mess for our brains. So when you're trying to capture open loops, it's important to understand that there's a best place to capture them. And then once you know that, you can make them the default. So for example, for ideas, if I'm sitting at my desk, I always have this notebook next to me. And so if I'm on the middle of the task and an idea comes to my brain, I immediately write it down on this notebook. Now it doesn't really matter where I'm gonna write it. What matters is that I immediately capture. I developed that habit of capturing things down. Now, if I'm moving around or I'm not sitting at my desk, my default place to go is the Notes app on my phone. I simply write it down as fast as I can. So that's a good way to capture your ideas. The only really hard thing for me was in the beginning of this process to get into the habit of writing things down. And I was watching Mad Men the other day and they said a sentence that I really liked, which was the faintest ink is better than the best memory. So it really doesn't matter where you put it down as long as you immediately capture it. As for events, something that's happening on the future that has a specific date, time, and location, I normally try to put it down as fast as I can onto my calendar. And that's quite easy to do if you're sitting at your computer. You just open your calendar and create a new event, assign a date, assign a time, maybe even location, some context if you want. And then what I like to do is set an alarm, maybe 30 minutes or on the hour, depending on the event. So for example, if I have an appointment with a doctor at 3 p.m. and I need to get to the doctor, I'm gonna allow myself some room so that I won't be late. So then I'll set the alarm for 30 minutes before. But for other events, because I just need to be reminded that they're gonna happen at a specific time, I normally set the alarm for the time of the event. On the phone, the same thing, just fire up the calendar and create a new event. As for tasks, things that you need to do, but they don't need a specific time to be done, again, I just like to write it down on this notebook here. So basically, I'll brain dump everything that I need to do. And then if I need to associate a specific task with a time, I'll move that to my calendar. And also for other to-dos, what I like to do is create lots of lists. One of the ways that I do this is I always have a running shopping list. So whenever I run out of something, I can simply open that app on my phone and I just write down what I need to buy the next time I'm going out shopping. And because I now have a running list, I can just keep adding things to it. So the minute that I actually do the shopping, I just check that list and order what I need. So for me, the key to develop the capture habit is to make it as simple as possible, to minimize as much friction as I can. And that's why I always keep this notebook on my desk, because now I don't need to reach into a drawer to take a notebook. It's simply on my desk. I grab the pen, I write on it. On my phone, it's the note that sits at the top. The more you can minimize the friction. In other words, the easier you can do to capture things, the easier it is to develop the capture habit. And once I've done that, I'll go into the second step, which is to clarify. So now I've done the hardest part, which is to capture what's on my brain, the ideas, the events, and the tasks. But then one of the most frustrating things that happens to me is I'll go back to, for example, an idea, and I have no idea what I actually meant when I was writing that down. And the problem with this was that sometimes I try to capture it so fast that I don't even add any context to it. And context really helps you in the future because your brain, again, cannot be trusted. By adding a little bit of context, I'm basically helping Dan from the future to know what Dan from the present was really talking about. So going back to my example of the quote, "The faintest ink is better than the best memory," after writing it down, I added some clarification on what exactly I was going to use it for. So I wrote the quote, and then next to it I wrote, "Use this in the video where I'm going to talk about how I never forget anything." Or if I'm going to the doctor and I want to ask a few specific questions ahead of time, I'm going to write down the questions that I want to ask. I don't arrive to the doctor's office and I don't remember what I wanted to ask a week ago. It takes a little bit more time to add this kind of clarification, but it really helps in the future. So try to be as specific as you can when you're writing things down and make sure you help future you remember what you meant. Once you've done that, it's time for the next step, which is to organize. Now you have a bunch of ideas, events, and tasks. It's time to organize and put them into their specific place. Again, this is similar to the idea that when you arrive at home, you put your shoes in your shoe rack. So now you're choosing the default place for those things to go. So for example, when I'm doing my weekly review on a Friday, I copy most of the ideas that I put down on this notebook or on the Notes app in my phone, and I copied them into Rome Research. And I do that because I use Rome for most of my creative output. And now by having the random thoughts and ideas that came to my brain in the same place where I'm going to create output, it's very easy to connect them and use them later on an article or in a video like this. For the events, I do the same thing. Every Friday, I ask myself, is there something I didn't capture that I need to do next week? So now I'm actively trying to understand if there's something else that should be on my calendar that at the moment it is not. And the other way that I do this is I prepare for things that are upcoming. So for example, if I have a friend whose birthday is coming up and I need to buy him a present ahead of time, now I create another event a few days ahead of time to spend some time researching and buying a present for that friend. Or if I need to go to the doctor and I need to take some documents, I probably can organize them already so that the day that I need to go, everything is ready to go. And for tasks, exactly the same thing. I just review everything that I think I need to do and see what are the items here that need to go into the calendar, what are the items that I can delete, eliminate, and I don't need to do. Or even what are the things that I can ask other people to do. And by doing this, I'm clearing up a little bit of my task list and making it a lot more useful. So by just spending a little bit of time every week organizing ideas, events, and tasks, I reduce my anxiety and my stress levels because I know everything is in the place that it should be. Now, finally, the only thing missing is follow through. So if I have an idea, like I said before, I'm going to use it somewhere in the future. The follow through is when I actually use that idea. So even though I captured that quote like 2 months ago, I'm only now using it for a video. But as long as it's organized in the right place and I do that every week, I know that when the time comes and I need it, it's going to be there. As for events, what I try to do is I make sure that I have enough time on my day and not a lot of tasks to do so that I can follow through on the things that I scheduled and said that I was going to do. So it's really essential for me to balance my calendar in a way that allows me to have the necessary amount of time that I need to do the things that I want. Finally, for tasks, I don't really believe in the concept of a to-do list. And what I feel about it is there's always going to be more things that you want to do than the time that you have. So the way that I look at that list instead of a to-do list, these are all the things that would be nice to do, but because they're not prioritized in the calendar, I don't have a specific time. I know that they are not the priorities. So if I have some free time on my day, I might pick something from that list. But otherwise, as long as I'm doing the things on my calendar, I know it's going to be fine because those are my true priorities. So when you do these simple steps, you're not relying on your brain to remember everything that you need to do. By having a simple system, something that you update every week, you'll feel more in control and also decrease your stress levels. And if you're still a little bit overwhelmed, then check out my next video where I talk about the simple exercise that I use to stop being overwhelmed. So go check it out right here and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.